Hey guys, tonight we descend into something older than language, older than breath. You'll feel it, first like ash on the back of your tongue, then like warmth behind your eyes. It's not comfort. It's memory. Raw, blackened, flickering memory. You probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and the current time in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You come here at twilight, barefoot and hooded, dragging the cold air behind you like a forgotten name. The monastery's bones grown beneath ivy and time, stones wet with the breath of moss and age. You find the door. It has no hinges, only splinters that part when you press your palm to the wood and whisper your birth date backward. Inside, the monk waits. Not quite flesh, not quite echo, he hovers where the sanctuary once burned. His voice is the sound of dust settling into open mouths. "Lick the ash," he whispers, holding out a page half consumed by flame, the ink bubbling with curses in a language lost before Babylon. Your tongue touches the scorched parchment. A taste like old smoke, bitter roots, and something ancient. The first memory slithers in, a childhood that isn't yours, under a sun that never rose. In 1512, in a lesser-known corner of the Vatican, a monk named Cesare Feltri claimed ash, when mixed with birch sap, could extract ancestral memory if ingested at dawn. His scroll was burned. But the recipe, somehow, remained. The monk leads you by silence alone, deeper into the cloister where windows no longer face the world. "Memory," he hisses, "is not in the mind. It lives in decay. You feel it already, flickers of moments that don't belong to you. A woman's dying breath. A knife dropped into snow. You have never held a blade. Or have you? The candle he carries is made not of wax, but melted vertebrae. Blood binds memory," he says, "but fire frees it." In 12th century Kiev, certain monastic orders believed that to forget was sin, and practiced daily burns of their skin to engrave scripture into the body through pain. You begin to understand. The ash upon your tongue is not symbolic. It is the first gate. And the monk, the one who reads you like scripture, has no eyes, but remembers everything. There is no comfort in his presence, only the warmth of things long dead and the whisper that you, too, will be remembered. Whether you wish it or not, you step into the old scriptorium, though the door never opens, only recedes like an eyelid in reverse. The walls breathe parchment and soot. This place, the monk murmurs, copies memory not with ink, but with fire. Charred manuscripts drift mid-air, turning themselves page by page, despite no hands to guide them. Some burn slowly, painfully, as if reluctant to give up their secrets. Others vanish in a flash of heat, revealing words only for a moment before becoming ash again. You step forward and they scatter, choking your throat with centuries of forgotten prayers. "This room remembers itself," the monk whispers. "Every time a memory is taken, the room makes a new one to replace it." You smell singed calfskin and something else, sweet, metallic, like iron boiled in honey. A manuscript flares above your head, and you see, burned into its page, a vision, a monk in a white robe, mouth stitched shut, writing with a stylus made of bone. The scholar remains unknown to history, though his burnt signature, Eliphaz of the Hollow Veil, has been found etched inside frescoes in 3 separate churches across Eastern Europe. No one knows who painted them, or how he traveled. You feel your mind stretch as you stare at the firelit scrolls. The monk circles you now, dragging the hem of his robe across the ash-smeared tiles, speaking half-words that dissolve as soon as they touch your ear. "Write what you burn what you write," he croaks. "Memory likes pain. Pain gives it edges." From a crumbling shelf, he removes a roll of parchment stitched together with human hair. He holds it near a flame, and only then do the letters rise. "To remember names erased, write them again in reverse while their ink burns forward," he instructs. You repeat a name you've never heard, backward. The page smokes, and you know something now that you never should have, a betrayal sealed in salt beneath a cathedral in Trondheim, 1274, where monks drown their memories in wine until only one remained sober and mad. That name, lost in canonical history, now throbs at the base of your skull. A debate from the 9th century whispers through your bones, the question of whether knowledge attained through suffering is divine or demonic. In the dark, no voice answered. Still, the scriptorium spins around you, pages aflame and pulsing with echoes, until you realize, the books here are not burning. They are alive. They feed on what you forget. And tonight, they are very hungry. The monk leads you now past the scriptorium's last ember, into a stairwell so narrow your shoulders scrape stone. The air thickens with the weight of earth above, as though memory itself presses down. You descend blind. Each step a year forgotten, each breath a life unclaimed. He says nothing until your foot finds soil, not stone. Beneath words lie bones, he murmurs, and beneath bones, the root of remembrance. He motions to a field of skulls half swallowed by dirt, their sockets brimming with candle wax. They are not offerings. They are containers. You kneel beside one and touch its temple. A pulse answers, not yours. And suddenly, you know the color of a robe once worn by a martyr in Antioch, 1229. You feel the weight of a silver medallion that was never yours around your neck. Your mouth utters a name that tastes of blood and pine resin. The monk cackles. Teeth remember when tongues forget, he says, and hands you a shard of jawbone. Bite, he commands. You do. Your teeth scrape memory's marrow, visions of storms carved into monastery doors, voices echoing inside oil lamps, a firelit sermon that melted minds into obedience. In medieval Portugal, during the Silent Synod of 1311, monks allegedly conducted their homilies without words, only bone relics pressed to the lips. Some say they preached entire gospels by chewing the femur of the dead. You stumble backward, dizzy with another's recollection. Your thoughts blur, timelines overlap. Is that your mother's voice? Or a Gregorian chant that never ended? The monk places your hand on the floor, and you realize it is not earth, but ossified memory. Tibia, clavicle, vertebrae, layered and pressed like palimpsests. They buried their wisdom, he says, so the mind could walk across it. Scholars in Prague once discovered a tunnel lined entirely in skulls beneath the St. Otilia cloister, inscribed with dates not yet come to pass. Historians dismissed it as myth, though none could explain the iron doors sealed beneath the chapel floor. You run your fingers along a femur and see a flash, your own funeral, centuries from now, attended only by silence and salt. Memory is hunger, the monk whispers again. Feed it bone. As you rise, you feel the earth shift. Not from movement, but recognition. The bones have noticed you. They accept your presence. And for the first time, they whisper back. You don't understand the language, but your soul flinches. You will not leave this place the same, if you leave it at all. The monk takes you by the wrist now, not with force, but inevitability. His skin is colder than stone, but pulsing faintly, like something preserved in wax. He leads you to a chamber beneath the ossuary, where no door exists, only heat. The closer you move, the more time unravels around you. Clocks ring backward in your memory. You smell burnt feathers. Then you see it, the fire that forgets nothing. It sits inside a sunken pit of basalt, black flames with no smoke, no flicker. A silence radiates from it so total, your thoughts grow loud. This flame, the monk says, has devoured all names but remembers every scream. He kneels and draws a circle in ash around the pit. To remember more, you must give something up. He extends a knife made from obsidian and antler. Cut from yourself what you fear to forget. You hesitate. He nods slowly. Even your hesitation will be remembered here. In the 10th century, monks in the mountains of Armenia practiced a rite called patkarashk, in which apprentices carved verses into their own shoulders, then sat before a sacred fire for a full moon's passing. The scars became maps, of knowledge, of sin, of memories stolen from dreams. The fire never went out. Until it was stolen. You lean toward the flame, your shadow twisting into unfamiliar shapes. The monk chants low, his words curling like smoke between your ribs. You press the obsidian blade to your forearm, and with a breath not fully yours, open the skin. Blood drops hiss into the black fire. The flames recoil. Then lunge forward, not toward your body, but into your mind. Every moment you've forgotten, faces on trains, dreams before waking, words you read but never understood, surge back. The monk touches your temple. It keeps everything, he warns. Even what you burned on purpose. Suddenly, you're a child again, holding a match over a diary you feared would betray you. You see every page now. Every word. You see things you never wrote. You remember the future. You recall deaths that haven't happened. The fire does not sort truth from terror, it keeps all. In a disputed 14th century manuscript from the Vatican's forbidden Codex Sanctorum, there is mention of the ignis memoratus, a fire kept alight by an order that vanished after transcribing their last thoughts into smoke. Scholars debate whether the fire was metaphor or madness, but the monk smiles as the flames mirror your face. You've fed it, he says. Now it feeds you. You try to look away, but it's too late. The fire has memorized you. The monk drags you from the fire, though your shadow clings to it, resisting like a wounded thing. You are led into a chamber with no ceiling, where stars wheel overhead in unnatural silence. Here, under the sky's unblinking eye, he uncovers a bowl filled with translucent liquid. Ink, he breathes, made from lamb's brain and the tears of the moon. He dips his fingers in and begins to trace symbols across your chest, sigils that flicker only when the stars vanish behind cloud. You will not see what I've written, he warns, unless the candles lie. The ink is cold, but bites like nettles. A sacred sting. Your breath shortens as each mark binds memory into your skin. This is the script of saints too mad to die, he says, of monks who scream knowledge into stone. A fringe ritual once performed by the Order of the Hollow Benediction required initiates to render ink from the cerebrum of an unweaned lamb, then write their confessions beneath lunar eclipses. The belief: only the moon could read sins not yet committed. The Vatican burned their scrolls, but not all of them. The wind stirs and a single candle, miles away, flickers out. Your skin blazes briefly with blue flame as the sigils erupt in momentary clarity. They twist like vines of language not yet born. You taste the words, though no voice speaks them. The monk kneels before you, eyes hollow but reverent. Now you must inscribe, he whispers. He offers a quill, no feather, only bone. You stare down at the ink. It pulses in time with your heartbeat. The parchment he unrolls is not paper but stretched skin, perhaps your own. Write what you cannot forget, he says, and it will become what you never knew. Your hand moves of its own will. You write a phrase that comes from nowhere, yet rings like a bell deep in your marrow. Behind you, something stirs, something ancient, bound by script. In the 12th century, during the siege of Metz, a scholar claimed to have discovered a scroll that altered itself while being read, rewriting the reader's memories into prophecy. The scroll vanished. Some say it still writes, hidden in a monastery where ink is breath and memory, a virus. Your final letter bleeds into the skin. It will never fade. It will never lie. The monk closes the bowl and says, now that it's written, the madness will remember you. You awaken where sleep was not granted. There is no sense of having rested, only of having paused while something crawled inside you. The monk waits by a reliquary sealed in chains of silver and bone. Inside, resting on velvet dark as unspoken thoughts, lies a cracked skull, yellowed with centuries, teeth clenched around a broken relic. He was called Saint Sirach, the last listener, the monk whispers. He died hearing a truth so deep it burned out his language. The skull still hums, faint as breath beneath stone. Kiss it, he says, and you'll hear what he never stopped hearing. You lean down. The bone is dry, cold, oddly soft at the brow. Your lips touch its surface, and the whisper enters. Not through ears, but through your spine. It coils. It sings in syllables older than scripture. It is not a voice, but every voice. And suddenly you understand Latin phrases you've never studied, can taste the shape of forgotten Greek vowels. You fall to your knees. In a forgotten manuscript buried beneath the Saint Baume cave in France, a monk wrote of a practice known as cranium communion, whereby initiates kissed the skulls of visionaries to inherit their memory scars. The Church dismissed it as relic worship gone mad. But some Vatican records list certain skulls as unquiet. The monk turns the skull toward you, revealing a sigil etched within its crown, a spiral flanked by a blade and an eye. It remembers the moment before death, when the soul is still deciding, he says. That's where knowledge hides. The whispers grow louder now. You hear prayers unrecorded, histories unwritten. You hear your own voice calling from somewhere else. The monk traces a circle in the dust with salt. To keep the memory, bind it to silence, he intones. Speak, and it scatters. You clamp your mouth shut, though the words struggle to pour out. It is agony to contain them. Knowledge wants escape. Thought becomes pressure. Every syllable you resist becomes a deeper groove in your mind. A theological debate from the 7th century still echoes among mystics. Is divine truth meant to be spoken, or suffered in silence? The question was never resolved. But here, in the hush of the skull's presence, silence feels holy. Necessary. Dangerous. The monk leans close. Many have kissed the skull, he says, but few survived remembering what it whispered in their sleep. He closes the reliquary with a sound like a final breath. The whisper lingers in your blood. And the next time you dream, you will not dream alone. The monk brings you to a chamber with no door and no walls, only salt, meticulously poured into a perfect circle on stone. The salt glows faintly, pulsing in rhythm with your breath. Sleep now, the monk says, but not all at once. 1 hour at a time. For 7 days. No more. No less. In the center of the circle, a slab of woven thorns serves as your bed. You are not permitted to cross the salt. It keeps them out, he warns, though he never says who they are. The moment your body touches the thorns, visions return, memories not yours, too loud to silence, too urgent to ignore. A burning cathedral. A song hummed by a faceless woman. Pages torn from a book you've never read. Sleep drips in like candle wax, thick, slow, pooling behind your eyes. In the 14th century, hermits of the Liptak order practiced segmented sleep, 7 cycles of wakefulness, and dream across 7 days, to draw memories from past lives. They claimed the salt preserved the boundaries between mind and soul, keeping unwanted spirits from feasting on the thoughts that surfaced. Many of them died mid-ritual, their bodies found smiling. Some say they never woke. Others say they woke too much. You sleep. And you wake. And the monk is always there. Never moving, never blinking. On the 3rd day, your dreams begin to bleed into your waking sight. You see glyphs dancing on the walls, carved into the air. The salt grows warm. You're remembering someone else's future. The monk murmurs. That is a dangerous gift. On the 5th day, you begin to hear knocks, far away, behind the salt, as if someone is pacing around your circle. The monk tells you not to answer, not even in thought. On the 6th day, you dream of your own death, but it feels like a memory. You wake weeping, though your face is dry. The salt has receded slightly. You do not recall moving it. A fringe cult in 11th century Bavaria believed that sleep was a gate between souls, and shared dreams could rewrite personal histories. The Church condemned their rites, labeling them as soul harvesters. But fragments of their chants have been found scrawled in the margins of psalters throughout Europe. On the 7th day, you wake to find the salt darkened to gray. The monk hands you a shard of mirror and says only, "Look." You see nothing. And then, everything. Not who you are. Who you were. Who you might still become, if you remember correctly. The monk sets a heavy tome upon a stone pedestal. It breathes. Not in metaphor, its binding expands with damp, slow rhythm, as if lungs were stitched within. The cover is red, wet. The Codex Memoratus, he says, never finishes itself. You stare as the pages ripple, freshly inked words forming and dissolving at random. When you open to the first page, a warm droplet hits your finger. The book is bleeding. It does that when you're too slow, the monk murmurs. You must read faster, before it remembers something you should not. The text shifts beneath your eyes, sliding between Latin, Aramaic, and something more jagged, something not made for tongues. You read aloud, compelled. Each phrase scorches the air, reshaping it. The walls pulse. The monk twitches. You speak the name of an angel that no scripture permits. The book bleeds again. And now the monk bleeds with it. His nose drips dark red, mirroring each droplet that falls from the margin. You mustn't pause, he gasps. It is writing you. In the 13th century, a scholar in Palermo described a manuscript bound in lambskin that would rewrite itself based on the reader's guilt. His account ends mid-sentence, the rest soaked in iron-rich ink. His name was never recorded. Only the phrase, faster. Always faster. You read on, the words slicing into your breath. The room spins, tethered only by the cadence of your voice. You feel facts surface, details of places you've never been, dates of plagues before they happened, the number of stars hidden behind the veil of night. Your mouth moves ahead of your thoughts now, as if the knowledge is choosing you as its vessel. When it stops bleeding, the monk whispers, you will no longer need to read. You flip pages frantically. One sticks to your hand, and when you tear it free, it takes skin. Pain flashes, but the page drinks it. The text sharpens. You read faster. A theological debate recorded in the Red Psalter of Grengarry spoke of whether divine revelation must come painfully, or whether pain is merely the filter through which clarity becomes visible. The scroll is believed to have caught fire on its own in 1186 during a Massachusetts. What remained was a single line, only agony preserves truth. The book begins to hiss, the ink rising in smoke. You push through the pages, eyes watering, throat raw. The monk chants behind you now, voice cracking. Almost through, he groans. Only a few pages left. You turn the next sheet, and find your own name etched in blood. Not once. Dozens of times. All spelled correctly. Even the one you've never told anyone. You are shaking now. Your pulse no longer beats in time with your breath. The monk holds something wrapped in sackcloth and reverence. When he reveals it, your scalp tingles as though your memories know what's coming before you do. A crown, crudely woven from hawthorn branches, each thorn slick with sap and something darker. To remember perfectly, he murmurs, you must make space. Old memories must bleed so new ones may root. You reach out. The thorns twitch toward your fingers. Do not place it gently, he warns. The mind forgets what does not hurt. You lift the crown and press it down. The first thorn breaks skin just above your brow. The second drives deeper into your temple. Pain, sharp and cleansing, explodes across your thoughts. And in its wake, clarity. You remember the way your mother's voice trembled during storms, though she never spoke of fear. You remember a dream from childhood, in which you drowned, but woke dry and grateful. You remember the monk's name, though he's never spoken it. You remember. And then you forget. A face. Soft. Kind. Familiar. Gone. The thorn has taken it. In 1603, a reclusive mystic in Saxony, Isolde Naff, devised a ritual of painful substitution, where each self-inflicted wound was exchanged for a forgotten detail, a transaction of mind and memory. Her journals ended abruptly. Her head was never found. You do not weep, though your eyes burn. The monk nods solemnly. The crown consumes what you treasure most, he says, but offers knowledge no scholar could earn. You look up and see runes etched in the ceiling, patterns only now visible, only now intelligible. A language embedded in structure, unspoken architecture of thought. The thorns pulse with each heartbeat, and with every pulse, another vision, the death of a scribe buried alive beneath his own library, the sigil used to seal memories inside glass beads, the exact weight of memory measured in drops of breath. But there is silence where something once lived inside you, a childhood friend, perhaps, or a melody that used to soothe you. Gone. The monk whispers of an ancient belief from pre-Christian Thrace, that thorns could anchor dreams to the waking mind, but only by wounding the dreamer's deepest affection. Memory has cost, he says, and the debt always collects. You try to speak the name you've forgotten, but it escapes your lips as dust. You know more than you ever have, and yet, less of yourself remains. The monk removes the crown, careful not to draw more blood. There is more to know, he says, but fewer parts of you to hold it. You wonder how much more you can forget before you become only memory. The monk leads you from the thorn chamber with slow ceremony, his footsteps like prayer beats against the floor. You smell it before you see it, smoke, rich and metallic, curling in sacred spirals from a low brass brazier. Do not breathe until I say, the monk whispers. This smoke remembers. If you inhale too soon, it may remember you. He waves his hand, and the smoke coils tighter, forming a lattice in the air. No, not a lattice. A diagram. Nerves, synapses, memory threads woven like illuminated script. This is what the mystics of Cyrenopol called the breath of binding, he says. They believed memory was not chemical, but spiritual architecture, and that smoke could sketch its structure. You kneel. The monk touches your chest. Now breathe, child. You inhale slowly, and the world changes. The smoke does not enter your lungs, it slides into your skull. Your vision fractures, rearranges. You see the inner walls of your mind, vaulted ceilings, endless staircases, locked doors marked with sigils you can now name. Words rise unbidden, hypnagogian, eyed memory, neurophagium. You see memories you never formed, perhaps borrowed, perhaps dormant. The smell is sharp, cloves, ash, and burned honey. In 1422, the monk priests of Urgith inhaled sacred vapors drawn from blackened poppy husks during their rites. They claimed the smoke allowed them to recall the dreams of angels. None of them ever spoke again. You stumble as the world twists inward. The smoke forms corridors inside you. Neurons become roads, and you follow them into forgotten cities of self. There is a room lit only by candlelight where a single word is carved into every surface. Remember. A door opens. You see a girl reading aloud in a language you've never heard, but suddenly understand. The monk's voice calls through the smoke. Memory is not yours. It is a guest. And guests must be housed. Your synapses feel swollen, stretched across too many lives. A bell rings in the distance, and you taste salt and stone. A hidden theological schism during the Council of Tours once debated whether the soul could inhabit more than one mind across time. Some believed memory was migratory, a divine contagion passed through breath and gaze. Heresy, they called it. But here, with smoke unraveling every neuron into sound and vision, heresy feels like revelation. You open your eyes. The room has changed. It has always been changing. The diagram still hangs in the air. No longer smoke, now memory. You've breathed the binding, the monk says. Now we begin the extraction. You don't know what he means, until you realize you've forgotten your own face. The chamber you enter next has no corners, only curves, walls like the inside of a bell, or the lobe of an immense ear. Sound hangs heavy here, muffled and strange. In the center stands an altar of petrified wood, scorched and cracked. Upon it, 7 black candles burn with flames that lean sideways, as if resisting gravity. The monk lays out what looks like a rosary made not of beads, but droplets of hardened wax, each inscribed with runes too small for mortal eyes. To hold what you've remembered, he whispers, you must seal it. He brings forth a shallow bowl of molten wax and dips your fingertips into its warmth. It bites. Not heat, but memory. Each drop hardens over your skin, embedding not just pain, but knowledge. Now chant, he says, and places a scroll before you. These words will not sound familiar, but your body will remember them. You begin. The syllables emerge like breath forced through a keyhole. Every phrase scrapes against something ancient lodged inside your ribs. Keep going, he murmurs. Pain is the ink. Wax is the seal. Your voice quivers as the wax thickens, your hands become monuments to unspoken truths. The chant warps your perception, each repetition reshapes the chamber, like you're carving grooves in reality itself. This is how the old monks remembered scripture that was too holy to write, he says. In the forgotten highlands of Eleutheres, it said that monks sealed hymns into their flesh using wax drawn from candles burned during eclipses. Those who chanted with sealed hands would pass their knowledge through touch alone. Theological debate raged for centuries. Was it divine preservation or mystical infection? You chant on. Your voice is no longer yours. It carries echoes of centuries. You feel the presence of those who chanted before you, humming just beneath your words. You hear one of them gasp. The monk turns you to face a mirror of polished obsidian. Your lips are moving, but you no longer control them. The chant continues, ancient and inevitable. Wax remembers truth better than flesh, he says. Flesh lies. Flesh forgets. Your fingers tremble, but the wax is unmoving, seals now. And behind your eyes, something begins to glow. A geometric shape, spinning slowly. A perfect memory, trapped like a fly in amber. You recognize it, a moment from long ago, long lost. But it pulses now with meaning. The candle flames rise suddenly, and you realize they burn brighter with every forgotten sorrow sealed inside your hands. You speak the final line. The wax cools. Your hands are heavy. They are no longer just hands. They are archives. The monk brings you into a cloister walled with shadows. There is no sky, only ceiling beams shaped like ribs. Along the far end stands a line of robed figures, mouths open, teeth blackened with soot and age. Their faces are hidden beneath gauze, their hands folded in silence. And then, without movement, they begin to sing. The sound is not music. It is backward breath, a reversal of harmony that tastes like rust and forgotten fruit. The monk gestures solemnly. They sing what was never meant to be remembered, he says. To learn from them, you must listen in reverse. You try, but the notes fold you in half, turning memory inside out. For a moment you do not know your name. For another you recall your birth, not as a moment, but as a chant. The choir's song reverses through your veins, mapping your brain with frequencies unspoken by any living tongue. In the lost Codex Benedicta Contra Tempus, a vanished text forbidden by the Church in 1231, there are notes of an order that sang in mirror tongues, unlocking ancestral knowledge buried not in language, but sound. The monks who studied it forgot how to speak forward, but they remembered everything else. The music sharpens. Now you see the song. It rises around you in shapes of bone and gold, syllables etched into the air, symbols unfurling in loops. Your ears ache, not from volume, but from age. The sound is old. Older than language. It climbs down into your spine, pulls memory like thread from marrow. One monk breaks from the line. He walks backward toward you, mouth still open, still singing. His tongue is forked like a candle flame, his voice an echo you once heard in a fever. He places a hand on your forehead. The hymn enters directly now. You see memories before you were born, visions not of past lives, but pre-lives. The scholars' debate once hidden within the library of St. Grau posited that some souls remember their formation, fragments of pre-human divinity, sparks from the moment of creation. Most dismissed it as mysticism. But here, under this terrible melody, it feels true. The monk whispers a single word backward into your ear. You do not understand it. And yet it tears something open inside you. A song you now know, but must never hum aloud. The choir fades. The silence left behind is louder than their voices. And still, somewhere deep in your jawbone, the hymn continues. You will hear it again. In dreams. Or in endings. The monk opens a drawer that was never there before, carved directly into the stone wall, revealed by silence alone. Inside lies a quill made of glassy bone and a vial sealed with wax marked by a thumbprint not quite human. Your memory is not only yours, he whispers, laying out a scroll that glows faintly with heat. It comes from those who bled before you, and those who will bleed after. He hands you the vial. Inside is your blood. And not your blood. It churns faintly, like it breathes. You must write the names, he says. The ones you've never learned, but always carried. You crack the wax. The scent is unmistakable, iron and candle soot and something older than either. You dip the bone quill and touch it to the page. Your hand begins to move. You do not guide it. It writes a name you've never heard. Then another. Each more alien than the last, but somehow familiar. You feel each one echo in your ribs like a door closing. These are your bloodline's ghosts, the monk says. Not the ones who lived, but the ones that should have. In a heretical fragment attributed to the wandering priory of Theras, it is said that ancestral blood carries echoes of unborn lives, paths not chosen, but stored in silence. You continue writing. Your hand trembles as the names multiply. The ink thickens, becoming tar-like, clinging to the parchment like it never wants to dry. You see faces behind your eyes, faces that flicker and vanish, like candlelight in wind. The monk places a bowl beneath your arm. Blood trickles. The quill never leaves the page. Each name written draws more from you. Memory costs, he says again. And blood is the coin. You write names in languages you've never studied. One burns as it's written. Another appears upside down, yet sings when read aloud. The scholar priests of Vilatia once believed that certain bloodlines carried hidden names, true names, that, if written with their own blood, could unlock ancestral recall. The church burned their monastery, yet their script has been discovered etched into the inside of skulls unearthed from beneath their chapel. You reach the final name. It writes itself. Your hand no longer moves. The ink stops. And the monk bows. It knows you now, he says. The line accepts your mind. The scroll begins to smoke. You watch as the names etch themselves into your bones, not physically, but spiritually, invisibly. You will never forget them. But you will never speak them. The scroll turns to ash. The names remain. And now, they wait. The monk walks without sound now, as if burdened by what you've remembered. He leads you into a low chamber shaped like a question mark, its air brittle, the walls made of prayer and tension. At its center stands a mirror, tall, obsidian, framed in rusted iron inscribed with glyphs you recognize from your blood writing. This mirror, the monk rasps, speaks what you have not yet thought. It remembers you faster than you remember yourself. He gestures toward it. Do not touch it. Do not blink at it. Stand still and listen. You obey. The surface ripples. Then words. Your voice, and not your voice, emerges from the glass. It recites your thoughts, your true thoughts, just before you form them. I should leave. It whispers. I cannot. Another phrase. He knows everything I fear. You haven't thought that. Not yet. But now you do. The mirror teaches memory by reflecting it forward, into moments you haven't reached. In 1507, a scholar named Hugo de Tenebra claimed he encountered a mirror in the catacombs beneath Spoleto that anticipated his sins. He wrote in his journal, "It spoke before I sinned, and thus I was guilty already." He vanished 3 days later, leaving behind only ash and a name scratched into the glass, his own. You try to close your eyes, but they stay open. The mirror has hooked them. It whispers again. You fear losing what you've already given away. You gasp. Not at the truth, but at its accuracy. The monk watches silently. It erases the moment after it shows it. He explains. You will remember nothing once it fades. But your soul will have changed. Your thoughts begin to spiral. You remember a lie you told to a dying friend. You remember the thing you buried behind your childhood home. You remember a word you never understood until now, repentance. The mirror says it for you. You're sorry. Then, too late. And then, nothing. Silence so deep it swallows your heartbeat. The surface clears. You see yourself, but older. Broken. Eyeless. You see the monk behind you, but not him. Another version. His mouth sewn shut, his hands reversed. Theological debate once churned violently in the Ashken Synod over the nature of prophetic cognition, whether foresight was divine wisdom or demonic manipulation. The scrolls from that era claimed certain relics could implant false memories that would later come true, making the future an infection. The mirror speaks one last time. Your next memory will not be yours. You turn away. You cannot recall what you just saw, but you will live by it forever. You now walk without guidance. The monk has receded into shadow, or perhaps into you. The corridor narrows until you are forced to crawl, hands scraping stone, knees soaked with wax from candles long extinguished. At the tunnel's end, a desk. A single candle flickers atop it, its flame oddly tall, dancing in patterns that almost resemble words. And there, at last, is the final page. Bound to the desk by threads of hair and time, it shivers in the air as you approach. Only in candlelight. The monk's voice echoes distantly. And only once. You sit. The chair creaks like something remembering a scream. The page is blank, until the candle flickers. Ink emerges slowly, like breath on cold glass. You recognize the script. Your own hand. Your own blood. But the words, you have never written them. Each line unveils a memory you will soon possess. A vision of your death, calm, unfinished. A stranger's hand in yours. A cathedral collapsing silently in reverse. You read faster, knowing it's forbidden. The page glows. This truth, the monk's voice breathes, is permanent. You will never forget it. Not in madness. Not in death. The final sentence appears. It is short. It is impossible. It is already happening. You whisper it aloud. The candle flares and the ink burns, turning gold, then black, then nothing. But you remember it. Every word. You close your eyes and feel the weight of memory pressed into your ribs, your teeth, your shadow. The page is gone. The candle dies. But its warmth remains, within. In 1199, a letter unearthed from beneath the Abbey of Ashmore spoke of a monk who sealed his final memory on a page that erased itself after being read. The letter warned, such knowledge cannot be carried without consequence. It will rot you from within, unless you become its vessel. Scholars debate whether this was metaphor or madness. But you no longer need to ask. You know. You rise. Behind you, the corridor is gone. Ahead, only silence. The kind that remembers. The kind that waits. The air outside the memory chambers is thin, but charged, like the moment before thunder. Your feet no longer touch the ground. Or perhaps they've grown too light to notice gravity. You walk or drift through a hall you do not recall entering, past candles that bow slightly as you pass. The monk's voice is a whisper behind your thoughts now. You've taken too much, he says, and left too little behind. You want to answer, but your mouth speaks in forgotten alphabets. The memories are louder now than your own heartbeat. Faces you've never met call your name. Names you've never said cling to your tongue. And worst of all, your true memories begin to dim, gently, like stars swallowed by morning. You reach a door made of salt and soot. It opens before you knock. Beyond it, a library without shelves, where books float, scream, glow, or sleep. And one whispers in your voice. You reach for it instinctively. It recoils, not yet, it hisses. Because you are not done. Not fully. The monk speaks once more. There is a price still owed, he says, but not by you. And in that moment you realize you have passed something on. Left a residue. A seed. Someone will find it. Someone always does. The memory is no longer yours alone. It has begun to travel. Multiply. Infect. If your candle has not gone out yet, you might be ready for the next book. There are more books. There are always more books.